Two legendary manufacturers, two completely different visions, and one obsession: to build the ultimate supercar and leave a mark on the automotive world. On one side, Ferrari, an Italian titan with a history rich in victories on the track and road cars that defined eras, representing tradition, cutting-edge engineering, and elegance. Ferrari sought to consolidate its dominance with every new model. On the other, Lamborghini, an equally Italian rebel, born from a disagreement, a dispute fueled by the audacity of Ferruccio Lamborghini and the desire to create supercars that defied convention. The brand pursued its own ideal of power and boldness, refusing to be overshadowed by its neighbor from Maranello. It was a war, always simmering, that split car lovers across the world. There was a time when these battles were fought with genuine legends, machines that truly marked the summit of great performance between the 1980s and 1990s. But to understand this duel, we have to remember the rivalry that began in the 1960s when Ferruccio, still a tractor manufacturer, decided to confront Enzo Ferrari after a barbed exchange of words. That dispute ignited decades of innovation, iconic clashes, and models that defined generations. In 1974, for example, the Bull stepped under the world's spotlight with a machine whose V12 could reach 455 horsepower. In response, Ferrari returned to the top of the game in the mid-1980s with the launch of the F50, a supercar that redefined speed and brutality. No frills, just pure brute force. It was the first production car to break the 320 km/h barrier, with a twin-turbo V8 producing 471 horsepower and an aggressive design that prioritized performance over comfort. It was a machine created to thrill, the last conceived under Enzo Ferrari's supervision before his passing. That left the prancing horse in front of the supercar market and elevated the F40 to the status of legend. Lamborghini could not let it slide. At that time, the brand was facing financial challenges, but it was far from surrendering. Under Chrysler's command, the marque began to develop its response to the F40. By this point, the head-to-head battle was at a fever pitch, and both needed to keep raising the bar because between 1990 and 1995, the supercar market was blazing, one of the most exciting periods in automotive history, marked by competition, intense rivalries, and a growing focus on extreme performance and exclusivity. Culturally, the world was also in transition, reflecting geopolitical shifts, technological advances, and social trends that directly influenced the design, production, and perception of supercars. Brands like McLaren, Porsche, and Jaguar, the Jaguar of before, not the current one, which is an affront, entered the fray with revolutionary models like the McLaren F1, the Porsche 959, and the Jaguar XJ220. Even so, the rivalry between Ferrari and Lamborghini continued to dominate the collective imagination and stirred a global frenzy with greater impact. Both brands appeared frequently in films as the protagonists' cars, Dumb and Dumber with a red Lamborghini, and years later Bad Boys 2, where a Ferrari F50 stole the scene. Not to mention the later representation of these cars in video games such as Need for Speed, Gran Turismo, and Test Drive. The rivalry went beyond roads and racetracks. For Ferrari, the priority was to translate its supremacy on the track to road cars. Lamborghini, by contrast, sought to capture the essence of desire with daring designs and emotional engines, offering supercars that combined power with splendor. Ferrari stood for tradition, precision, and racing heritage, while Lamborghini embodied rebellion, innovation, and boldness. Their competition went beyond technical comparisons. It was a duel of philosophies and influence that led many fans to hang posters on their bedroom doors and collect miniature versions of legendary models that marked one of the greatest eras of motoring the planet has ever seen, leaving in our minds to this day, unanswered, the genuine question: who was the king of the 1990s? F50 versus Diablo. And in this one car versus another, add another fair duel in the comments so we can produce a documentary for you. Now we turn to the Lamborghini, whose birth sprang from an audacious vision that began to take shape in 1985. Remember this detail. The project, known internally as Project 132, had the mission of succeeding the legendary Countach and taking Lamborghini to a new level. Under the direction of Patrick and Jean-Claude Mimran, the initial goal was to develop a supercar capable of 315 km/h, surpassing all limits of the era. To bring this idea to life, the brand entrusted the renowned designer Marcello Gandini with the task of creating the aerodynamic profile of the new model. While Gandini sketched aggressive and futuristic lines for the car, Lamborghini's backstage was undergoing deep transformations. In 1987, before the project advanced, the Mimran brothers sold Lamborghini and all its assets to Chrysler for $25.2 million under the control of the American manufacturer. Gandini's original design underwent significant adjustments to soften its angular forms and make them more acceptable for the global market. Designer Tom Gale, famous for the Dodge Viper, refined the project, balancing Italian audacity with American functionality. Despite the changes, the final result maintained Lamborghini's DNA, marking the beginning of a new era. The Lamborghini Diablo was officially launched in 1990, carrying a name as powerful as its performance, derived from a fierce bull that participated in bullfights in the late 19th century. The name evoked strength, aggression, and a certain mystique reflected in every detail of the car. Equipped with a naturally aspirated 5.7-liter V12 based on the iconic Bizzarini engine, it delivered 492 horsepower, an evolution of the V12 that had already propelled the Miura and the Countach. This engine was significantly improved for the Diablo with aluminum cylinder heads, an electronically controlled multi-point fuel injection system, and improvements to the exhaust. The engine block, made of lightweight aluminum alloy, was meticulously cast to reduce weight without compromising structural rigidity. An expensive and highly specialized process. The tubular spaceframe chassis, a technical advance used by Lamborghini since the Miura, was redesigned for the Diablo and manufactured in high-strength steel. It was designed to offer superior torsional rigidity, essential to handle the engine's extreme power. In addition, the chassis was lengthened and widened to provide greater stability and interior space, despite its increased weight relative to the Countach, about 118 kilos more. The Diablo offered a superior balance between performance and comfort. Its body was composed mainly of aluminum panels, while critical components, such as the doors and hood, used carbon fiber to reduce weight. Production was concentrated at the Sant'Agata Bolognese factory, where each car was assembled by hand by a team of specialized technicians. Manual assembly allowed a rare level of customization even among the supercars of the era. Every component was individually inspected before installation, and the V12 underwent rigorous dynamometer tests before being mated to the chassis. Refinement of the design included wind tunnel studies to improve airflow over the car and engine cooling. The final drag coefficient was reduced to 0.31, an impressive number for a supercar with such a large engine and a raked front end. The interior of the Diablo marked a break with the past. While the Countach was famous for its Spartan, uncomfortable cabin, the Diablo offered a much more refined space. The seats were upholstered in top-quality leather, and the dashboard presented an ergonomic design with controls placed to aid the driver. Lamborghini also incorporated advanced technology for the time, such as electronically controlled climate control and power windows, luxuries uncommon in a supercar. In manufacturing terms, one of the greatest innovations was the integration of all-wheel drive in the VT version. To do this, Lamborghini adapted the system from the LM002, its high-performance SUV, allowing up to 40% of the power to be transferred to the front wheels in situations of lost traction. Installing this system required modifications to the chassis structure and engine bay, demanding more time and greater precision in production. As the Diablo evolved, more technical advances were incorporated. The SE30, for example, introduced lightweight components such as plexiglass windows, magnesium intake manifolds, and electronically adjustable suspension that not only improved performance, but also reduced weight. These components were manufactured separately and installed by hand in a process that could take days, depending on the level of customization requested by the client. With these numbers, the Diablo became the fastest production car in the world, reaching 325 km/h and accelerating from 0 to 100 km/h in just 4.5 seconds, at a time when rivals like the Ford Mustang GT struggled to break the 6-second barrier in the same test. The Diablo's performance was impressive, but it wasn't limited to figures. Its V12 was a masterpiece, not only for its raw power, but for its characteristic sound, sharper and rougher than its competitors. Unlike Ferrari's V12, Lamborghini's engine seemed to shout, encapsulating the essence of Italian supercars. Even so, early success didn't come without challenges. Despite its straight-line performance, the Diablo was criticized for its handling. Heavy, wide, and bulky. It presented difficulties in more technical conditions, something Lamborghini sought to correct with updates. In 1993, the launch of the VT marked the first major evolution of the model, incorporating the all-wheel drive system inherited from the robust LM002. The VT made the Diablo more manageable, especially at high speeds and in curves. The version also brought new elements such as wider seats, brake cooling ducts, electronically adjustable dampers, and power steering, improving the driving experience. That same year, Lamborghini presented the SE30, a commemorative edition for the brand's 30th anniversary. Power increased to 523 horsepower, thanks to an updated injection system and new intake and exhaust manifolds, in pursuit of more performance. To reduce weight, it dispensed with the VT's all-wheel drive system and items such as air conditioning and audio equipment. Its aesthetics stood out with revisions to the front and rear design, a redesigned engine cover, and the Lambo 30 metallic purple color. For the most daring, the Jetta package was available, raising power to 595 horsepower and adding a roof scoop that sacrificed rearview mirror visibility. The line continued to evolve in 1995 when the Roadster variant was introduced, equipped exclusively with the VT configuration. The model featured a carbon fiber targa roof that was stored over the rear deck when not in use and incorporated visual elements from the SE30. That same year, the SV was launched as a more aggressive option with power raised to 510 horsepower, an adjustable rear wing, and larger rear brakes. In 1999, with Lamborghini under Audi control, the Diablo received a major update. The pop-up headlights were replaced by fixed units taken from the Nissan 300ZX, and the base model was discontinued, leaving the SV as the entry version. The interior was renewed with new panels, steering wheel, and finishes, while the V12 was tuned to 529 horsepower. This version marked a key transition to Lamborghini's modern era. With the Murcielago on the horizon, the Diablo bowed out spectacularly. Between 1999 and 2000, Lamborghini produced the GT, a track-oriented version with the V12 enlarged to 6.0 liters and 575 horsepower. Only 80 units were built, making it rare. There followed the VT 6.0 and VT 6.0 SE, produced between 2000 and 2001, offering a 6.0-liter engine tuned to 549 horsepower and exclusive finishes like gold or bronze metallic paint, carbon fiber components, and magnesium intake ducting. After 11 years of production and 2,184 units, the Lamborghini Diablo ceased production in 2001. Although its successor would define the standards of Lamborghini's new Audi era, the Diablo remains a milestone. It not only cemented the brand as one of the most desired in the world, but it redefined the concept of the 1990s supercar, combining power, design, and exclusivity, seizing the crown from the F50 and shining throughout the first half of the 1990s practically at the top, becoming a masterpiece. But as said before, the rivalry was intense, and no one slept. While the Bulls were leading that race, the rival needed to react with a car up to the Diablo and its own predecessor, and that mission arrived under pressure, on the red side. The 1980s had been generous to Ferrari. The F40, launched in 1987, became a landmark in supercar history. Extremely fast and visceral, it attracted a new generation of buyers and elevated Ferrari's reputation to new levels with an impressive production of 1,115 units, far above the 400 initially planned. This extraordinary demand, driven by speculators and enthusiastic buyers, led the brand to extend production until 1992. However, with the collapse of the economic bubble in Japan and an imminent global recession, supply exceeded demand, leading to a significant drop in F40 prices. This scenario, combined with speculators' discontent and Enzo Ferrari's death in 1988, left the brand in a challenging position at the beginning of the 1990s. Behind the scenes, there were technical challenges and immense pressure to meet Ferrari's own expectations, as the brand needed to create something unique in an increasingly competitive supercar market, where it would face its neighbor rival, Lamborghini. It was in this turbulent context that the idea of the F50 was born. Ferrari needed a successor that not only upheld the F40's legacy, but re-established the brand as a reference for technology and innovation. Unlike the F40, inspired by rallying and turbocharged engines, the F50 dove into Ferrari's vast Formula One legacy, aiming to preserve the racing DNA and offer a visceral experience that connected the driver directly to the essence of the track through a different path. With that in mind, the Italians began the project with the heart. The engine chosen for the Ferrari F50 was one of the most outstanding elements of its conception, derived directly from the 3.5-liter V12 that powered the Ferrari 641, the F1 car used in the 1990 season. The power plant was adapted for use in a road-going supercar. Even so, this was not a simple transition. Ferrari had to make significant adjustments to make it road-compatible, including increasing displacement to 4.7 liters and incorporating emissions control systems. The V12, designated F130B, kept its naturally aspirated configuration, prioritizing linearity and immediate throttle response, fundamental characteristics in a racing engine. It generated 512 horsepower at 8,500 RPM and an impressive torque figure of 47.9 kgf-Fm at 6,500 RPM. It featured double overhead camshafts, 4 valves per cylinder, and multi-point electronic injection, contributing to an extremely refined power delivery. A notable characteristic of the engine was its integration with the chassis. The V12 was mounted directly into the carbon fiber monocoque, using metallic substructures, becoming an integral part of the chassis. This approach, typical of Formula One, provided great structural rigidity and weight reduction, but also increased the transfer of vibrations into the cabin, reinforcing the visceral sensation when driving the F50. The car's complete structure weighed just 1,230 kilograms, maximizing the power-to-weight ratio and improving overall dynamics. In addition, the F50's engine was famous for its unrivaled sound. With a piercing tone that directly evoked the F1 cars of the era, it was considered by many enthusiasts one of the best sounds ever produced by a naturally aspirated engine. This detail was frequently highlighted by magazines such as Evo, which described the sound as a mechanical symphony that encapsulates the soul of Ferrari. The choice of this engine underscored Ferrari's commitment to creating a car that was more than fast. It had to offer an immersive, unique experience, bringing the sensation of piloting an F1 car closer to everyday roads. This decision reinforced the idea that the F50 was not just a worthy successor to the F40, but a technical and philosophical milestone redefining what it meant to drive a supercar. Each unit required millimetric precision to align the engine with the chassis, and rigorous tests were carried out to ensure that vibration and heat did not compromise durability or comfort. The suspension used a double wishbone system with horizontal adjustable dampers, a configuration taken directly from Formula One. This provided precise steering responses and excellent grip in fast corners. The steering, lacking hydraulic assistance, offered direct feedback to the driver, increasing the feeling of control. The braking system was composed of high-performance ventilated discs, designed to shed heat quickly and withstand intense braking without loss of effectiveness. Combined with tires developed especially by Pirelli, these brakes guaranteed excellent performance in extreme conditions. The F50's design was entrusted to Pininfarina, responsible for some of Ferrari's greatest masterpieces. The result was a body that combined elegance and functionality. Every curve and surface had an aerodynamic purpose, from carefully placed intakes to the integrated rear wing that maximized high-speed stability. Although less visually aggressive than the F40, the F50 displayed refined lines that evoked the purity of Italian design. The removable roof added versatility, allowing the car to transform into a roadster without compromising rigidity. Production was limited to 349 units, all assembled by hand at Ferrari's Maranello headquarters. The decision to use carbon fiber on a large scale in the chassis and body was pioneering for the era, but it also brought difficulties. Manufacturing and integrating the carbon monocoque required new technologies and processes, significantly increasing cost and production time. This, along with the model's exclusivity, reinforced the F50's appeal as an extremely special car. The cabin, though minimalist, was covered in high-quality materials, ensuring a combination of luxury and functionality. Officially launched in 1995, the F50 was received as a technological work of art and a symbol of Ferrari's capacity to reinvent itself. It represented a change of course from the F40, replacing raw turbo brutality with refined mechanical elegance without losing focus on extreme performance. Curiously, Ferrari chose to offer the F50 only in Targa configuration, meaning every example came with a removable roof section. This choice, in addition to reinforcing the model's exclusivity, allowed the driver to enjoy the engine's spectacular sound even more, surrounding all this cutting-edge engineering. The F50 was Ferrari's first road car to use a fully carbon fiber chassis. This provided substantial weight savings and greater rigidity, but also transmitted more vibration into the cabin. As a result, the F50, with its minimalist interior and ultra-rigid nature, was not ideal for the casual customer wanting a relaxed cruise to the local restaurant. With quick shifts from the 6-speed manual, the F50 could accelerate from 0 to 100 km/h in approximately 3.8 seconds and continue to a declared top speed of 325 km/h. Despite all its innovations, the F50 faced mixed reviews at launch. While some automotive magazines praised its advanced engineering and the beautiful sound of the engine, others felt it lacked the F40's visual and emotional impact. The design, though functional, was described as less iconic than its predecessors. Even so, many admired the authenticity of the project, which sought to offer an unfiltered driving experience, bringing the driver closer to a competition car like never before. The F50 stood out as a car that represented Ferrari's philosophy to create machines that were more than vehicles, true extensions of the passion for performance. It may not have achieved the F40's universal status, but it offered a unique experience that captured the spirit of Formula One and translated it to the street. The F50 proved that Ferrari was willing to explore new territory, even when facing extremely high expectations and worthy rivals like the Diablo. Now, you might expect the legacy on track chapter, as is customary in our stories, right? But the Lamborghini Diablo and the Ferrari F50, although contemporaries and rivals in enthusiasts' imaginations, never faced each other directly in official factory-backed racing competitions. Both were supercars conceived primarily for road use, and their respective brands did not enter these models in prestigious competitions like Le Mans or the FIA GT Championship during their production years. Nevertheless, modified versions of the Diablo did reach the track, the GTR and SVR, a version prepared specifically to compete, participated in championships such as the FIA GT Championship and in niche competitions like the Lamborghini Super Trophy. These models featured significant modifications to the chassis, suspension, and engine, transforming the supercar into a genuine racing machine. Ferrari, for its part, sketched something with the F50 GT, designed to compete in the GT1 category. However, this model never took part in official races due to Ferrari's decision to abandon the project before homologation. Therefore, the F50 did not get the chance to face the Diablo or any other supercar in a scenario of direct competition. If a direct confrontation had existed, it most likely would have occurred in a category like the FIA GT Championship. But due to the brand's distinct strategies and the fact that the F50 was not widely adapted for the track, this duel never officially materialized. The rivalry between the two remained mainly in the supercar market, where they competed for the title of Best Production Car from the 1990s to 2000. Both represented two distinct, yet equally fascinating approaches, standing out in their time as absolute icons, each with its own interpretation of automotive excellence in a period of intense rivalry. And the opinions of the specialized press of the era illustrated it well. Some described the F50 as a work of art in motion, highlighting the purity of its engineering and the overwhelming sound of its engine, while others declared that the Diablo was the supercar everyone had as a poster on their walls. The legacy of cars like the F50 and the Diablo shows that there is no single definition of excellence in the world of supercars. But what if we told you that this entire history of rivalry, innovation, and adrenaline began much earlier in 1966 with a car that changed the game forever? Yes. The Miura was Ferruccio's first blow against Enzo Ferrari, the first modern supercar that started the war. The video is already playing on screen. We'll see you there.